Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kircha. Coming up in today's newscast, Arab Israelis protest against the U.S.'s peace plan over fears of losing their Israeli citizenship.
Are Israelis safe from the coronavirus? Well, the Israeli government has just issued a new ban that could affect you.
And it's Super Bowl Sunday. We'll reveal how Israelis will be participating in the festivities. Now, both sides involved in President Trump's new deal of the century are responding to the proposal with mixed feelings.
Yeah, but in a surprise demonstration, dozens of Israeli Arabs who identify as Palestinian are now protesting against the deal because they do not want to lose their Israeli citizenships. The Peace to Prosperity plan envisions a Palestinian state in most of the pre-1967 borders, but it also discusses the possibility of negotiated land swaps over areas populated by residents who traditionally identify as either Israeli or Palestinian, like Al-Fahim, Al-Hulia, Kalantzaweh, and some other 11 communities in Israel's so-called Arab Triangle. In fact, the plan suggests that the whole triangle, where the majority of residents identify as Palestinian, be transferred to the Palestinian Authority, along with the 260,000-some people who live there. Arab Israelis in the triangle, on the other hand, see the move as a population transfer meant to take away their rights and reduce Arab political influence in Israel, especially as the plan comes just weeks ahead of the nation's landmark third elections. And now joining us to discuss the Israeli-Arab protests against the United States-Middle East peace deal is a former Likud Knesset member and the president of the Likud Supreme Court, Michael Kleiner. Thank you so much for being with us now.
Nice to be with you.
Who are the Arab Israelis who are protesting against this deal, and what are their biggest issues with it?
I don't know. Maybe those who are loyal to the state of Israel and want to stay citizens. But practically, I believe it's the other way around. Look, if an Israeli Arab is a good citizen and he is abiding the law and he identifies himself with Israel as it is a Jewish state and he is a pride minority, keeps his heritage, tradition, and doesn't want to be part of another country, he has nothing to worry.
Well, but part of the issue is that with the United States' deal, they're talking about the Arab Triangle, Khalhulia or Jaljulia and Al-Fahim and several other cities that would be negotiated as potentially being swapped into the Palestinian Authority.
This is a result of the logic of the plan, of the two states plan, which you know that I oppose, which says separating Jews and Arabs, and of course, as those people in those areas are Arabs, that some of them have a problem of lifting the Israeli flag and identify themselves with the Israeli national anthem and feel more with the Palestinians. They are in irredenta. All the irredentas in history that were a population nearing to another state, near the border with another state, naturally wanted to stay where they are, but be part of the country of their nationality. This was the reason of the Trump plan. The decision.
But then, so why are they protesting against it?
I don't know. Look, there always is a minority which is protesting. Usually, it's issues like that. After some transition time, the people will have to make a referendum and decide themselves.
So I think the bigger question here, though, is how the majority of Arab Israelis feel towards the state of Israel. You know, in the case that there would be a Palestine that is established as a nation, would the majority of these people want to stay in Israeli, especially in this specific area?
I guess that today the reason that they are acting not naturally. The reaction, we want to stay with a hated Jewish state, with this country we don't identify with, and not with our natural brethren in their home state that will be established, it's not normal. I guess the reason is economic, because Israel has a rule of law and a developing economy, and the Palestinians, they believe that it's a corrupt regime which is not representing even their own people and the best interests of their own people. If this will change within Middle East peace, and there will be progress also in the areas of Judea and Samaria after a peace agreement, and with $50 billion coming from the United States. So maybe in 10 or 20 years, if there is a referendum, they will change their mind.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Now, in other news, imprisoned Israeli-American Naama Issachar may have been released from Russian jail, but that doesn't mean the story with Russia is over. Several more Israelis are now reporting issues at the Moscow airport.
Yeah, in fact, 10 Israeli citizens have just been denied entry to Russia and detained in the Moscow airport just a day after Israeli-American Naama Issachar was released from Russian prison. In the past couple of months, Russia has repeatedly been blocking Israelis from entering the country in what is reported to be a protest against Israel denying entry to Russian travelers. The Russian embassy claims that almost 6,000 Russians were not allowed to enter Israel in 2019.
Now, the 10 Israelis who were traveling on an Aeroflot flight to Russia were asked to give DNA samples and get fingerprinted before they were put back on a plane to Israel. And Russian officials claim that the Israelis didn't give a sufficient explanation for their trip to Russia.
The incident comes after 27-year-old Naama Issachar was given a presidential pardon and released from Russian jail after being sentenced to 7.5 years for allegedly drug smuggling. The Israeli-American was believed to be a political pawn in a Russian plot to get Israel to release a Russian hacker from their custody before extraditing him instead for trial to the United States.
Now, not everybody is happy about Naama's return to Israel. However, Naama was actually personally picked up by the Israeli Prime Minister and his wife Sarah in Russia after her release and flown back to Israel on their plane. And many Israelis are criticizing the so-called hero's welcome, arguing that Naama actually did commit the crime of carrying cannabis while traveling, despite the fact that her punishment didn't fit the crime. Now, one stark critic is Leah Golden. She's coming out, and she's a mother of Hadar Golden, a soldier whose remains are still in Gaza after being killed in the 2014 Gaza war.
Talking to Israeli Channel 12 News, Golden asks, how can we justify moving heaven and earth for Naama, a criminal who received a pardon, while doing nothing to return the soldiers' bodies, referring to her son, and Oron Shaul, another soldier whose remains are still being held hostage by Hamas.
All right, now the death toll is rising from the coronavirus, and the Israeli government has now officially barred foreign nationals who have recently been in China from entering Israel. If you visited China over the past 2 weeks, you're not allowed to enter Israel. That's the order from the Israeli government following the deadly outbreak of coronavirus. So far, 10,000 people across the world have been diagnosed with the respiratory disease, and at least 213 are dead. The vast majority of these cases have been in China's Hubei province, which is home to Wuhan, the Chinese city where the first illnesses were detected back in December. But now the World Health Organization has declared the outbreak a global emergency, and the first death outside of China has been reported in the Philippines.
Over the course of the patient's admission, he developed severe pneumonia. In his last few days, the patient was stable and showed signs of improvement. However, the condition of the patient deteriorated within the last 24 hours, resulting in his demise.
Israel's El Al Airlines is now pausing flights to China for the next 2 months. And anyone who has visited China over the past 2 weeks and isn't an Israeli citizen or permanent resident will be banned from entering the country through a land or sea crossing. The Israeli Foreign Ministry is urging Israelis not to travel to China until the emergency is declared over. And most of the remaining Israelis left China on Thursday with the help of Israel's diplomatic missions in the region. The coronavirus has now infected more people globally than SARS did back in 2002 to 2003. All right, well, joining us now all the way from Hong Kong is Amit Abergel, an Israeli who has been living in the area for the last 2 years. Now, Amit, I know you're not in mainland China, but what is the situation like on the ground in Hong Kong?
So basically, as you can see, it's kind of an emergency here. I'm in the busiest part of Hong Kong, and there's not many people. People are just trying to be safe.
Now, is everyone wearing face masks, or are you just one of the only ones?
Like 99% wearing masks, but it's because of the SARS. They had SARS in 2003. They're terrified now.
Now, you're a part of the Israeli community in Hong Kong. How have Israelis been reacting?
So people with families going to Israel for sure, because they closed the school and kindergarten, all the parks, the museums. The rest of the people who need to stay. So there's nothing else we can do. We just follow the orders And if it's gonna get worse, I think we're all gonna go back.
So are you going to be staying in Hong Kong or going back to Israel?
For now, yeah. It's not, there's only like 12 people sick here, and the majority are like older people.
All right, well, stay safe, Amit. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. It's been years in the making, but the UK has finally left the European Union. Still, many questions need answering in the coming 11-month Brexit transition period, like what will happen with respect to international relations. Well, here in the studio to discuss is Terry Newman, former Chief of Staff to British Jewish MP Lord Janner. Thank you so much for being with us now. How is this going to influence relations with the rest of the EU and with Israel?
Excellent question. So let's understand that the EU was set up initially to prevent another world war. After 2 world wars in the space of 30 years, the heads of these countries got together and said, how are we going to stop this? So they made an economic pact over steel and coal, because that's what you need to fight a war. And over time it developed into more economic issues and then into political issues. But the question remains, did it stick together because you had the Soviet Union on one side threatening to attack and the United States on the other side stopping it? And therefore it was in effect this glue caught in the middle, and now the Cold War's finished, it's going to break apart. Well, that appears to be what's happening. If you see Britain's leaving, the noises we're hearing now in Italy, in France, in parts of Germany, it could be in actual fact that Brexit is not actually the biggest threat to the UK, but rather a bigger threat to the EU itself. Now, in terms of Israel, this is a great opportunity now for Israel. And if you see the first country to sign a deal with the UK after the Brexit vote was done was Israel. Over $10 billion of trade were done in 2018 between the countries, which is a huge, huge growth. And if you look at the industries, you're looking at pharmaceuticals, you're looking at cyber, you're looking at high-tech. These are industries of the future where both Israel and the UK lead.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I just want to ask, do you think this is a right decision for the UK?
Well, I think that's the argument of the last 3 years. And therefore, as Winston Churchill said, it's not the end, it's not the beginning of the end, it's the end of the beginning. And we have to focus not on what should have been. This is what it is, and we must make the best of what there is.
Right, but you're essentially saying that this has been the glue that has essentially kept Europe from going into another world war. I mean, could we see something? Could we see any type of violence or any type of conflict coming down the line because of a move like this?
Absolutely, and we will have to see what happens. But you have to look at this in a broader picture. That the Cold War ended 30 years ago. We're now getting the impact of that, and this let's hope that we find a way of balancing love for flag, love for anthem, without hatred of the other.
Now, Trump and Netanyahu have just released this, deal of the century, Mideast peace deal. What is the British response to this? Well,
Britain has a long and interesting relationship with this area because the mandate was ruled by the British pre-1948. Today, Britain is a supporting act rather than a main actor, and it will do what the United States says it should do. And therefore, if the United States is in favour of this, the UK will support anything which will help further that aim.
All right. That's a pretty clear-cut answer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, now, how many times have you tragically heard of a parent leaving their child in the car on a hot summer day?
Well, one new product is now in the market that could potentially help save your baby's life, and ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh has the details.
We're here right now at Babyland 2019 at the Expo Tel Aviv Fairgrounds, and I'm here to introduce you to a new device called InfoMinder. Now, in America alone in 2018, over 54 babies died as a result of being left in the backseat of the car, making that more than 1 baby a week. And InfoMinder is here to change those statistics. It's a super easy to use small device that you record a message making sure that you don't forget baby Susan in the backseat of the car. You clip it onto the driver's seat seatbelt, and every single time you release that seatbelt, the reminder will go off. Don't forget baby Susan. We're here right now with the founder of InfoMinder, Josh Sarias. Now tell me, how did this product come about?
So InfoMinder is a combination of infant and a reminder. I'm a father of 4 little children. and horrifying stories, tragedy, and every other week the kids left behind on the car seat. Therefore, I invented this product. It's very simple. It's just a recorder. You record a message, and then you clip it on your seatbelt. Every time you're going to release the seatbelt, the message will go on. Doesn't require any Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth. It's only $29.99 compared to all the products on the market.
Now, this small, tiny recording device can literally save hundreds of babies' lives.
It really is an amazing invention and incredibly useful, especially with all the stories we've been covering about this.
It's a brilliantly simple solution, too. It's amazing.
All right. Well, this may not be big news for Israelis, but it is Super Bowl Sunday, everyone, and specifically it's Super Bowl 54 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers.
Exactly. Again, though, while this may be hands down the most American thing on the planet, Israel has been keeping itself involved, and ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh has the details.
Of course, we have you back here with us.
Hey guys, so most people in the States go all out for Super Bowl, as I'm sure you both have experienced, with over-the-top parties and tons of food and decorations for the team that they want to win. And somehow, for the last few years, Israeli companies have been making their way onto the Super Bowl screen with insane commercials.
All right, well, apparently the Super Bowl is the most lucrative place to advertise yourself. I mean, It's the biggest televised event of the year with over 98 million viewers.
Yeah, I actually heard a commercial slot during the Super Bowl can cost a company anywhere between $3 to $5.6 million for just 30 seconds of airtime. Yeah. So which Israeli companies are we going to be seeing this year?
So obviously there's hummus involved in this one. Keep your eyes out for Sabra Hummus. They're co-owned by the Israeli company Strauss, and their ad features two drag queens chowing down on Israel's favorite snack. Check this out.
Ready, Cracker? Chickpeas. I was born ready.
All right, now this ad has already ruffled some feathers, hasn't it? It's kind of hard for me to even understand. But.
Yeah, Christian groups, including 1 Million Moms, is demanding that Fox and NFL take it down, saying that it isn't family friendly. But Israel is known for standing out with its ads. Remember the ad by the Israeli company GoDaddy a couple years back that featured Israeli supermodel Barafeli making out with a tech geek?
Yeah, who could forget that, honestly? Let's take a look for a reminder.
There's the sexy side represented by Bar Raffaelli, and the smart side that creates a killer website for your small business represented by Walter. Together, they're perfect.
They literally played that for too long. I need to unremember that image. Is that possible? The ad is honestly genius because it makes you so uncomfortable that you can't forget.
Well, that's why it works. It keeps the company on your mind forever. Literally. The Israeli webpage builder Wix has actually had ads in the Super Bowl as well for over 4 years for that very reason, but that's not all. This year, the Israeli startup called Eco partnered up with consumer goods giant Procter & Gamble to create an interactive ad, which actually the viewers will be the ones determining the storyline. Now, the viewers are going to choose from multiple sequences, and then the most popular choices will actually shape the final commercial.
It really is a great idea. I want to take part in this myself, but I guess I've already selected the sequence, right?
Well, it is a crazy good idea, but honestly, what's even crazier in my opinion is the Intel commercial from last year, which used technology made by the Israeli company Replay Technology to offer viewers a unique point of view perspective from any player on the Super Bowl field, which is absolutely wild for any football fan to actually get to witness.
So cool.
I know. I'm so excited to see these Israeli ads on the big screen in the Super Bowl, especially the full version of the drag queen ad.
If you get to stay up, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm actually going to stay up for the Super Bowl, if we're being honest. But thank you for joining us, Emmanuel.
Of course.
All right, now the next time you go shopping, you may want to think about this. The clothing industry is responsible for about 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And every second, one trash truck worth of textiles is either burned or sent to a landfill. So do we need to be sacrificing fashion for our world? Well, joining us with the answer is Victoria Kleiner, the co-founder of Refresh. Hi. So tell us about Refresh. What is this initiative?
Well, it's basically really all the things we just said that, we now speaking about it like once in a blue moon, but then there's people that think about it all the time, and I'm one of those. What can you do? Yeah. And the reason is because, usually when we leave our house, we have to wear something, right? Meaning, seriously, we all are involved in this. We all wear something. We buy clothes. We gift clothes. We have textiles in our home, so we're all responsible. So what we said with a group of experts in Israel and abroad, we said, okay, let's try to take this problem and create a solution out of it. When there is a problem, we have to find a solution. Where, if not in Israel, would be the place where we can bring together the best minds that understand technology, understand research, and also understand how to make things scalable, and then come up with the best solutions for them. So what we'll do is we'll go to companies, we'll say, you look at this as waste, you look at this as dead stock, as they call it, right? Something, a collection which is maybe not interesting anymore, but maybe we can develop a new product out of it. Maybe we can look at how to make it more, give it a new life.
So you're talking about, the materials themselves. First of all, I'm sure there's waste just, when clothing is being cut, materials that are just thrown away because they have no form. And then, of course, there's the clothes that we throw out because we just don't want to use them anymore. Nobody buys, and Salvation Army or whatever the place is. So how do you guys do this?
Right. So there's a few fields, and thank God for technology. We have, the ways to actually produce something new using new technology. One which is very known already, which is the 3D printing. Now, 3D printing, we have a few really nice examples here.
Yeah, these are gorgeous.
Basically, take a look, and you could even match it with your, what you're wearing. It's not only just very cool because it leaves almost no waste at all, because you can really, whatever you've put into the machine will come out this way. You can also use a kind of alternative materials for it. This was made out of corn. Like most of it was been made out of corn.
So you're
powder.
basically saying make textiles out of materials that can be used again.
Not only that, it can be also food waste. Think about food waste. Food waste is becoming. You can compost. You can have food waste. This was made out of seaweed and also colored.
Replacement for maybe leather.
Yes, and look how it looks like leather. It could become your next, shoes or something like that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us with this revolutionary technology and idea. Yeah, I really hope that everyone's going to start looking towards what you guys are doing for the future of this
we hope so too. It will be a real revolution.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, now this is going to sound strange, but bear with me. If someone is coming to kill you, rise against him and kill him first. No, that's not an incitement to violence. That is exact scripture from the First Testament or the Torah. And now it's also the inspiration for the title of a new HBO TV series coming out of Israel. Rise and kill first. If it seems like a command, that's because it is. And it's also the name of a new Israeli TV show produced by HBO and Keshet International, an Israeli production company headquartered in Los Angeles. But the title comes from a passage in the First Testament advising Jews to kill anyone who is planning an imminent attack. And fittingly, the show focuses on targeted assassinations, with Season 1 beginning with a major operation against former Hezbollah military commander Imad Murnia. Murnia was a terrorist best known for helping orchestrate the 1994 attack at a Buenos Aires Jewish center which killed 85 people. Murnia was also on the top of a number of most wanted lists at the turn of the century, and he was considered a close ally of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, which United States forces killed just weeks ago. But Murnia was hunted down and killed in a car explosion in Damascus, Syria in 2008, and Hezbollah attributes the bloodshed to Israel's Mossad and the United States' CIA. Now, Rise and Kill First is based off of a 2018 best-selling book written by Ronen Bergman, who is also working with star Israeli movie director Yuval Adler, best known for his 2013 film Bethlehem. The show is the second production of a joint HBO-Keshet collaboration, the first being Our Boys, a 2019 hit inspired by the true kidnapping and murder of 3 Israeli teens in 2014, inciting the 2014 Summer Gaza War.
All right, let's take a look at the weather forecast. Finally, some sunny weather. Tonight should be clear to partly cloudy and cool with a low of about 46 or 8 degrees Celsius. And then tomorrow should be mostly clear and with a rise in temperatures to a comfortable average of 65 or 18 degrees Celsius. And now before we go, let's take a look at what is going viral in Israel on tubing. No.
All right, so that first video has already actually gone viral, but here's the Ramat Gan Safari recreating their own version.
Yeah, here in Israel, everything comes just a little bit smaller. Look at that.
Way more adorable.
But look at how cute he is. He wants to hug and play, not attack.
He's terrifying. He's terrifying, man.
All right. That is it for today's news. You want to take it away?
Today's exchange rate is 3.45 shekels to the American dollar. For more news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube and Roku TV pages. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kirchek. Thanks for watching.